Okay, good evening, everybody. I'm Dr. Shaan from Vitality Chiropractic Centers, and this is our interview series where I'll be talking with other healthcare professionals about their stories, how they got started, and of course, the people that they help. Today's guest is Dr. Jonny Coller. He's a chiropractor from the UK, and he's currently running the seminar and educational series, The Chiropractic Why, with the intention to improve the knowledge and service of chiropractors so they can better serve and improve the lives of their patients. How are things going at the moment in Barcelona?
Yeah, things are good. Things are good. Obviously, interesting time in the world. So some things to adapt to, but it's actually been an amazing thing for me during these sort of quarantine times. A lot of people have been using their time to study, improve themselves, which has kept me busy. And we've had lots of students, which has been a lot of fun for me, actually.
So if we start in the very beginning, for those who have never seen a chiropractor, how would you describe chiropractic to them?
So there are many, many ways to explain it, but I like to keep things basic. Your brain and body, they need to communicate. When that communication can occur between the brain that's running everything and the body that's doing everything, your body's going to function to its best. If there's a change or a problem in that communication system, you can't function to your best. So as a chiropractor, we look at one problem that can occur in the spine that prevents the brain and the body communicating as well as it should, and you functioning as well as you could.
Okay. And then for yourself, why did you decide to become a chiropractor?
Well, I mean, you've probably seen this. Everyone's got like these amazing stories. You go to conferences and people have got, I was adjusted and I walked again type story. Mine isn't quite as inspiring. I was fortunate to go and play rugby overseas for a period of time and realized that, I needed to get a job. And at the time we had a big family business. So it was pretty clear I either worked for the family business or I went to university, and I didn't want to work for the family business. So chiropractic got chosen because I had experienced one. I felt very lucky as I went through my 5 years of studying. Towards the end, particularly, I really felt like I'd found my place and something I was passionate about and enjoyed. But it certainly wasn't the case when I started. It was pretty much to get away from the family business and hide away down in Bournemouth studying and hopefully have a job at the end of it.
I mean, at times mine's exactly the same. I met all these people where they've had changes in their stomach, they've had their hearing improved. And it's like, I was just interested in healthcare and it seemed to make sense at the time. There's no miraculous thing.
Yeah. I mean, like, I'm kind of jealous when people have had these amazing stories, but hey, look, we all find our own little paths to where we end up, don't we? And I wouldn't change any of it.
Yeah, absolutely. For yourself then, what led you to leave the UK? And I know at the moment you're in Barcelona. What drew you to that?
So I was, after college, I went and worked in a couple of different clinics, and I suppose I got to a period of my life where I realized it was either leave now or you end up staying and family and kids, and then it's harder to move, and some good opportunities came up. Obviously, being someone with a bit more sun helps. And I think that one of the amazing things with chiropractic is we can all be taken out of our own environment and still be able to communicate these ideas and have an impact on a different community. And I kind of saw it as a bit of a challenge to maybe get out of my own systems, get out of my own environment and try and adapt to something, but also hoping to learn a little bit. And it's been an amazing experience.
Yeah, and how's your Spanish?
Average at best. When I was practicing here, I worked really hard in communicating these ideas of chiropractic. So within the clinic, I thought it was pretty good. However, there's countless experiences when I met people outside of the clinic. They said, "Oh, you don't sound as Spanish as you do inside the clinic." So maybe the lesson was pretty good at explaining stuff, not so good at your chit chat.
So tell us more about the Chiropractic Why. What got this started, and can you tell us more about the course as well?
Yeah, definitely. So, you and I have chatted about this. Both of us went to a similar school where some of the stuff that we were taught was amazing, and some of the other stuff probably didn't get explained as much as we'd like. And over a long period of time for me, I really started to read and study, particularly this ideas of why chiropractic, why do we do what we do? What is the philosophy? What is the thinking behind it? And I really started to draw a lot of inspiration and clarity. And it really helped me in practice, one, feel like I was helping people a lot better. I could explain these ideas a lot better. And I started to see a lot more results that a lot of people around the world with chiropractic see. And I really had that burning question of why. So through lots of studying, got to a point where we were getting asked to run some talks and different study groups, and that kind of logically went on into us building a course for chiropractors to do from the comfort of their own home. It's an online course that really just explains the thinking and the philosophy behind chiropractic in a very easy way, but to allow people to then communicate these ideas clearer to the people they serve, so they can have a greater impact on the community.
And you mentioned we, so this is not just you, you're working with other people?
Yeah, so I'm very fortunate. A very good friend of mine, Tommy Dirksen, when we started this program, both of us had just finished a longer philosophy program through Sherman College in the United States. And he'd sort of had a similar journey, and we both sort of wanted to make it a little bit more accessible. So yeah, both him and I work closely together. And also we've got a couple of other chiropractors that help contribute every now and again to different stuff, whether it be doing some live events or running green book studies or any of this sort of thing.
And what have been some of the challenges you found so far, either with the course or with being in practice in general?
One of the things that I always end up chatting about, particularly when we're going through the course with people, is communication is what's heard, not what is said. And I think that probably encompasses both things clinically and within the course. Clinically, a lot of the times we think that we're saying something, but the reality is the recipient is hearing something very different, because they're hearing it through a lens of their own philosophy or a lens of what their worldwide view is. And that kind of decompresses what we've said. So in practice, what I enjoyed doing was working hard to find out how to reduce that sort of confusion of the ideas, to try and distill it down to the simplest point possible. And I suppose in teaching, that is effectively what we're trying to do in the course. Make these big this seem very simple, easy to understand, but also so that it makes logical sense. A lot of chiropractors, we say, oh, this person within our practice, they get the idea. Well, a lot of the time, the ones that got the idea are the ones that we're comfortable communicating with or have similar communication systems to ourselves. Other people, sometimes, they don't get it, or feel like we need to explain these ideas more. The responsibility lies with us a lot of the time, because we might have said something and they've heard something different. So I hope that answers both sides. I was trying to cover one answer for both.
Oh, yeah, that's part of the art of communication. That's an important factor.
Yeah, well, yeah, it is. And something that personally, when I worked harder at it gives very good rewards. So professionally, it's certainly had that as well. And I'm still yet to find somebody who said, I worked on my communication, it was a bad idea. So until we hit that one, we'll keep going with that.
So in terms of the philosophy that you're teaching then, of course, a lot of the philosophy has changed over time. If you go through the green books, it's gone from being, in some ways, almost a little bit allopathic, going towards more this like OSC, objective straight. Is that something that you really instill more into it? Or is it more just, here are some of the basics and people get to kind of pick and choose what fits for them? How do you structure that? So
I think when you look back through the philosophy of chiropractic, there certainly is an evolution of ideas. Obviously, Didi discovered this incredible thing. Didi Palmer was one of the founders of chiropractic, for people who don't know. And then his son sort of took these ideas and went with them. And if you study particularly the writings, readings, and other stuff, we can see how these ideas have changed and evolved. What we do through the course is present these different ideas, explain the evolution, and explain some of the logical fallacies in some parts of it and others in others, and allow people to make their own decision. But we certainly chat about different paradigms of chiropractic, where different people will fit, the strengths and weaknesses of all of those, because certainly there is in each different style. But it's more about giving people the information. I think we've chatted about it. At the moment, there isn't this information that easily accessible. People have to, you know, go to different courses around the world, read lots of different books. So what we've tried to do is just condense everything that we learned over that time that really affected us and helped us, and made it as easily accessible as possible.
You mentioned about some of the books. I'll be honest, I have not read all the green books. I've probably read 4 or 5 at this point. Are there any particular books that you found that were either more useful or even, to be frank, a bit less useful, either in green books or, you know, other books that are more in the straight chiropractic realm?
So hopefully I've got a good story that sort of explains this. In my sort of 3rd or 4th year at studying, I reached out to somebody and asked, you know, I've started reading some bits on philosophy. I'd read a Strauss book, I think, and Rob Sinnott's book, which is an amazing introductory text, really great book. And I was like, I'm going to read some green books, And I got advised to get The Bigness of the Fellow Within. So this book turned up, and I mean, if anyone hasn't seen it, it's probably the most intimidating book, you know, really good thickness to it. I remember opening it and I read the first chapter. It was amazing. By about the 3rd chapter, I felt like I was pushing a rather large stone up a hill. And even though I managed to force my way to get through it, it's certainly something I wouldn't recommend for anybody else. Yes, I think the green books are an amazing source of knowledge, and there's incredible stuff on philosophy, art, and science. However, at times they can't be the most accessible books. So for me, I think, yes, it's important we read it, but particularly when we're starting, it might be there are other ways to be a bit more accessible. But if you were going to say, I really wanted to read a green book, I'd certainly recommend the later ones. Fame and Fortune's an amazing one to get into. It's probably not as intimidating. But yeah, a lot of people have this story of, you know, I want to get through green books. And it is a great thing to do. But when you're reading it, you've got a lot of old language, a lot of repeated texts. Obviously, some of the editing is not ideal. And I would suggest, well, it's a lot easier to start somewhere else and end up with that, I would say.
I've heard actually from some people saying that the best way to do it is to start backwards. Start with the ones that are most recent and work your way back
100%. I mean,
easiest way.
Yeah, some of the earlier ones are a lot harder to read. But also, as a chiropractor, as part of our history, part of our evolution of the ideas, is something that we should know. But yeah, certainly don't start with the biggest, thickest, hardest to read one. Start later down the line with something smaller and a little bit easier to get into.
My second one was probably volume 18, which is about 800 pages. It's like, yeah,
yep,
yeah, sure, no problem.
Well, I remember I was the book got delivered, and this is obviously when we're a student, you had less deliveries. Amazon wasn't really, you know, the thing it was. Super excited. I was like, yeah, gonna sit down and read my green book, and like came. I remember opening it being like, oh my gosh, like it was. You could have stopped cars with this thing. It was that big. It was an intimidating story.
Outside of the green books then, is there any other books, whether it's in terms of authors, in terms of series, that you would recommend for students if they want to develop more of their reading in their own time?
Definitely. Particularly within the philosophy of chiropractic, David Serro put together an amazing book called The 33 that came out recently. I know it's pretty easily available on most platforms around the world. And each little chapter looks into a different principle of chiropractic. And I think a lot of those are written really, really well. Also, because you get a difference of authors, if one chapter doesn't really resonate with you or you don't connect with that person's writing style, the next one is also a great opportunity. Like we said, Rob Sinnott's book is an amazing one. I'm a big fan of Joe Strauss. I think what he's done for the profession and trying to make philosophy a lot more accessible is amazing. Outside of that, you know, there's a lot of amazing self-help books and other reading. But if you're a chiropractic student at the moment, the one thing that I can assure you you're going to get lifetime benefit from reading is anything chiropractic. You know, there's a big difference between being a chiropractor and doing chiropractic. And when you're 100% being a chiropractor and you're dedicated to your craft, that's when we see a lot of the people that have had amazing results in this practice. That's where they are. So I do think as a student, you've just got to expose yourself as much as possible to chiropractic, read as many different books on as different ideas, find out what what you find attractive about chiropractic and inspires you, and you know, that'll set you up for the rest of your life. You got
Made some of
plenty of
these
time
books.
to read stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll say some of these books that made such an impact. To be honest, the people that write them, they write them to make an impact, not because they're making any money or anything like that from them. Not at all.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone in chiropractic books is making a huge amount from them. But you know, it's vitally important that we do have these texts. Also, I mean, I buy lots of books. You probably see my books behind me, but you know, books aren't meant to be on the bookshelf. So I'd probably say to people, start reading what you've got. You know, a lot of the time we look for the next shiny new book. You've probably got an amazing couple of books already on your bookshelf. Pull them out and go over them again.
Absolutely, absolutely. I was talking about this actually with Sinnott, and he was saying that he'd been speaking to Strauss, and Strauss predicted he probably had around $70,000 worth of books just in his basement. So you know,
Just a
he's written
casual
all these
basement
30
collection.
books,
Just
but
down in my basement.
yeah, I mean, like he's got to keep them somewhere. He's printing them himself. That's the problem.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, and these books have amazing knowledge in them. Yes, certainly. Let's get out there and read them.
So with the chiropractic why, what are your goals for this, say in the next couple of years or even more long term?
So within the next couple of years, our real aim is to inspire chiropractors to reconnect with the chiropractic why, the understanding, to enable that group of individuals to serve their community better, to allow to enable them to communicate chiropractic better. But around the world, you know, chiropractors do an amazing job serving, you know, lots and lots of people. We just want to be able to continue that growth within chiropractic, and also make sure that we have the skills to explain what it is we do, why we are different, and that difference in worldview that we can offer than other sort of healing systems.
Okay, so as well as, of course, going through the chiropractic why, what other changes do you think would be useful within chiropractic to achieve some of this?
Wow, that's a big question. Nice to know you've gone easy for me. I mean, certainly I'm not an expert in worldwide chiropractic. For me, I think success leaves clues, and one of the things one of the things I did a lot when I was at college and when I left was trying to observe as many chiropractors and take as many successful things from them. So I think as a profession, we should look at, you know, what are these people got that are very successful? And for me, it's they understand exactly what it is they do. They can communicate it well. And of course, they work really, really hard. But funnily enough, when you enjoy what you do and you're passionate about what you do, the harder days become a lot easier. And you've got a goal that's bigger than yourself to help other people, which I think a lot of chiropractors do when they come into the profession. You know, that does motivate you and inspire you to work hard, to keep developing your craft. And I'm reading a book just now, actually, Be Obsessed or Be Average. I think we really need to be obsessed about the service that we provide, about the skills that we have, and the thought processes behind them.
Yeah, I feel like at the moment as well, it's kind of hard to tell who those successful people are, because if you look back, say, you know, years ago, you'd have Barge and Sid Williams, you'd have these guys in three-piece suits and Rolexes, and they're seeing a lot of people and they're helping a lot of people and they're teaching. It's obvious that they're successful through just by comparison of what's going on. But now with social media being such a big thing, everyone can look like they're successful, but you have no idea how much they're actually helping people. It makes it confusing. How much do you think
It's an interesting
has affected things?
Yeah. Just to go back to that, it's how you define success, you know, and I think that's individual to everyone. I think there are certain measurements and probably measurements that I give more weight to than other people, and that's everyone's individual choice. But success leaves clues. You know, you can still find who your version of success is. It could be for you that your version of success is someone who sees very specific cases, helps some incredibly sick people in a certain style. It could be somebody who has a larger clinic that sees lots of people. It could be that you like children. I think within chiropractic, isn't it an amazing opportunity that people coming out into the professional, within the profession that we have, that we can choose which lane within chiropractic we want to be in and become, you know, the best in that. So the success, yeah, I mean, social media can kind of cover it, but I'm sure if you really wanted to, you can find the people that are successful in your terms of success pretty easily.
Absolutely. As well as the changes you'd like to see in chiropractic, what kind of change would you like to see in healthcare systems in general?
You love these big questions. I like it. I like it. I think in recent times, there's obviously some crazy things going on within healthcare and sick care at the moment. I think hopefully people have realized that ultimately our health is our own responsibility, and it is one of our greatest things that we can have. When I was in practice, I used to ask people, what is your greatest sort of owning or belonging, and most people would say the health of my family. So hopefully we're sort of moving to where people really prioritize what is important to them. And after this time of lockdown, I think a lot of people, for that is health and the health of their families. Also, I hope to see that, and you see it most all over the world, moving more towards healthcare rather than sick care. So what can we do to stay healthy rather than what we can do to stay away from sickness? But there is, things moving forward well in some areas and not so in the others. And ultimately, it's everyone's personal responsibility. But as practitioners, it's certainly our responsibility and our moral obligation to be able to deliver what we say that we do and enable the people that we serve to make the best decisions, giving them the best information possible.
So you mentioned about the personal responsibility. Say for people, say it like here in Singapore, we have the majority of people now are under a form of lockdown. Some people will be able to go back to work soon, but the majority probably will be working from home. What kind of advice would you give to those people so they can be more empowered to take care of their own health?
First of all, lockdown is hard, and I know that everywhere around the world has got slightly different rules and slightly different things that you can get away with. But I don't really think that, what we know is the human doesn't change when it's in lockdown. Your body is still your body, your brain is still your brain. So keeping those two things as healthy as possible. I'd recommend everyone stays active mentally. So for me, it's been reading probably a little bit more than I normally have. And of course, trying to remain positive always helps. And then for your body, it's exactly the same other things. What were the healthy things that you were doing before, and how can you still implement them within your life? We can still all eat pretty well and drink pretty well if you're lucky enough to have access. Doing some regular exercise. Unfortunately, we can't go and see your chiropractor to get checked, but eventually we will be back to that. So it's just doing the best things that you can do for yourself in any moment, because I can assure you your body's trying to do that all of the time anyway. So any little help that we can give it, most people know what to do, don't you? I mean,
That's true.
realistically, but the hard thing is doing it, and that's something that, again, comes down to you. But as practitioners, we can certainly help inspire that. And I'm yet to meet someone who's, really invested in their health and regretted it.
Yeah. And for yourself then, say if you give yourself some advice, maybe not now, but maybe say 5 or 10 years ago, what kind of advice would you want to give to you?
I think keep on going on. Sometimes within chiropractic, there's a lot of noise, chatting to and from, and internal politics, and you can get caught up in that stuff very easily. But I think the basics is continually working hard, continually studying, reading, all of these things. Like when I look back 5 years, the things I don't regret is working hard and reading and studying my craft and developing my skills. So I think the advice would be to keep working hard, keep your head down, enjoy what you do. And also, sometimes you got to enjoy it. We're very fortunate. Chiropractic is a beautiful thing. And like we said, there's lots of different ways that you can work, but we get to do something that you really enjoy every day. And that, is an amazing thing. And I'm sure everyone listening into this, if they're a chiropractor or a patient, they've been involved or heard an amazing story that, someone's life has really changed. And that, enjoy that a bit more. Sometimes as chiropractors, we probably take it for granted because we see it a lot of the time. But what an amazing thing that we get to be involved in, helping people transform their lives and living fuller lives and seeing incredible results. Nothing's bigger than life is something you hear all the time. But yeah, probably that. Cool. I got a bit sidetracked there. I went on a bit of a rant. I'm sorry. Took me down memory lane.
That's okay. And to be honest, I think, like speaking honestly for myself, I would say what you're doing is more beneficial. You see it a lot, whether it's with chiropractors or anybody that works in some sort of healthcare. There can be this ego of wanting to be the person that helps the person directly. But for the fact that you're out there teaching people and helping others to do that, it kind of takes that ego away from it. So I mean, I do commend you for doing what you're doing, because it's not just going to help the people that you're directly relating to, but whoever you're then influencing in that kind of bigger community.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly something that we've chatted about, and you know, it's an amazing opportunity to have a big reach, and something I feel very passionate about. And when chiropractic is practiced in the way that it's explained, and it is just an amazing thing to behold. So it's, if I can play a tiny part in somebody else's journey, it's something I'd be very proud of.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you everyone who's been watching this either live or watching on the replay. If they have any questions, I'll make sure that Jonny is tagged into this description, so you can always contact him, whether you are, again, potentially a patient in the area or a student and you want to learn more about the chiropractic why. If you have any comments, you can always put them into our comments, or you can always get me on the mobile or send us an email at help@vitalitychiropracticcentres.com. Thanks again for joining me today.